Hi, I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about birds, and particularly bird strikes on airplanes. Bird strikes on airplanes are rarely fatal. Thousands of bird strikes happen every year, at least in the US, probably 20,000 or so. And most of them are cause no incidents of any consequence. The problem with the birds is they can damage windshields, components of the airplane, and I guess most seriously, the engines. The engines are probably the most critical part. I've hit birds a number of times. Most of the time, it's unknown. If you see the bird in the windscreen or it's in the right in front of you and you hit it, then it's pretty obvious. But oftentimes, the bird strikes that I've seen have come after I've landed and take a look at the airplane as I'm exiting. And if it's a large airplane, it may be anywhere on the jet. It's typically not a big deal. If it's a very big bird, you might feel it. In extreme cases, it can actually damage the airplane. We had one that really went through the radome, the very front of the airplane, and it came in. The very front of the airplane, that called the radome, there's a radar back there. That's where the radar is housed. And typically, it's just a big piece of plexiglass, so the radar can operate without interference. So there's a lot of space, and it's possible for something to penetrate. Most airports, the big time airports that have a lot of traffic, use what they call bird mitigation procedures, and they may do all kinds of things if it's known to have a lot of birds around. Say in the wetlands area, they may try to get rid of food sources, get the birds to move. Sometimes they'll fire shotguns in the air if they see a number near. Sometimes they'll use drones. That's a new thing now. One of the more innovative techniques that has actually worked in a number of places is the use of dogs. Border collies in particular have been very effective at herding birds and getting rid of birds. Typically train the dogs for a couple of months, and they put them out in the field. One of the places they do this is at the airport in Fort Myers, Florida, and apparently it's been very effective. There was I would say call it a crash, many years ago in I think it's JFK Kennedy Airport in New York, where DC-10 was taking off, and during the takeoff roll, the aircraft encountered a huge surge of a flock of birds, and a lot of birds went down the right engine. They actually rejected the takeoff. They knew they couldn't go. I don't know what speed they were at. Put on the brakes. Long story short, they actually exited the runway a little bit. There was a few people were hurt. I think 2 or 3 people were injured in the rejected takeoff, but it worked well. The most dramatic bird incident is obviously the miracle on the Hudson when Captain Sully Sullenberger encountered a flock of birds shortly after takeoff from LaGuardia Airport, lost both engines at a relatively low altitude, couldn't make it anywhere, and decided to land in the Hudson River. Did so extremely skillfully, and luckily everyone survived, and I believe no one was injured. That was truly a miracle. Beautiful day, calm winds. If it was at night or whatever, inclement weather would be more challenging. The most dramatic bird strike that I've seen was a 727, my old employer, and it was somebody that I knew was descending into Memphis and hit a big bird somewhere around 8 or 9 thousand feet, and the bird came through the radome that I talked about earlier, and actually came into the cockpit. The remnants of it around the rudder pedals, where our feet sit, and it was a real mess. It looked like a cow had been slaughtered in the cockpit. They were all messed up. Of course, the bird was gone. The airplane was completely flyable, and there you go. So nobody wants to lose an engine. That's the biggest thing. If you pick up a bird or a big bird, if it's a small bird, you won't even know. But if big birds go through the engine, could cause a problem, could cause compressor stalls. That's where the airflow is disturbed in the compressor blades, and that uneven airflow gives kind of an internal turbulence, and loss of thrust. You may see flames shoot out the back. But most of the engines are certified to be able to withstand a certain amount of foreign object damage going through the engine. They typically fire frozen chickens during testing, and the engines have to be able to function with a frozen chicken going through it. But in the real world, you're not going to get a frozen chicken. You're going to get wildlife, and some birds are pretty big in certain parts of the world. Often on automatic terminal information data that's broadcast to the pilots coming in, there may be a recorded notation saying there are birds active in the area, birds at the airport. Doesn't do much. There is a kind of a old wives' tale that keep your radar on, and that will scare the birds away. I've never seen that. I think that's an old wives' tale. So one of the little hazards of aviation, there are thousands of bird strikes every year. Typically, no one knows about them. And if you hit a bird and it makes a big mess on the outside of the airplane, someone's going to get there with a big rag and some cleaner and just clean it off and keep going. Should have no impact. But they're out there. That's all for today. Have a good day.